Hi, this is Judy from Fox Cities Quilt Company, and this is Sunday from the Sewing Room, where we give you tips, tricks, and a few tutorials to help you with your sewing and quilting projects. Today, I'm going to talk to you actually about my sewing room. My sewing room is a catastrophe. And I want to talk to you about getting organized. And I thought the best way to do that is just to get organized along with you. It's a new year and I need new habits. And so instead of focusing on something that I can't change, for a new habit, I'm going to focus on something that I can change, which is my organization space. So I'm going to turn the camera around and I'm going to talk to you about, I'm going to really get real about my sewing room because you only see a little bit when I record and you don't understand what a disaster this really is. I'm a shop owner, so I have shop papers in here. I have projects going on, classes going on, prep for classes, and a myriad of other things. So I'm going to get real with you and then I'm going to get organized with you. All right, so this is right when you walk into the door of my sewing room. You can see it is a train wreck. I have a little sewing machine here, a handle from a Tudo case, fabric I have to return to the shop that I have it. Look at, there is a quilt wool kit on the floor, my bag that I take every night. I don't even know what this disaster is, let alone what's behind it. Here's a project that needs to get cut. This is my ironing table. And then look at this disaster under here. It is out of control. I have a project going on in there, applique pressing sheet. There's a bag back in this corner that honestly, I don't even know what it is. So, and then this is my sewing. I have a koala cabinet, and so I am lucky enough to be able to have two sewing machines on each side. So here is one sewing machine. This is my embroidery machine. As you can see, I have supplies that I don't even know why. Thread catcher. This big tall black thing is what I use to record Sunday from the sewing room. It's my iPod or my tripod so that I can get good camera angles. Look at this disaster. Here's a project with the blocks ready to put together. More stuff. Look at that. What a mess. There's a rubber band for gosh knows what. There is a carton tipped over. It looks like Chinese food, but it isn't. It's a little wool project in there. And this is the front of my sewing cabinet. So that's my other sewing machine right there. And then this is the front of my sewing cabinet, which is equally a disaster. And look at, I have shoes on the floor. I have fabric on the floor. Those are little squares that probably didn't make it to the garbage can that just landed there that I didn't realize. And my floor is a disaster. This is where I sew most of the time on this machine. And this is my arm that holds all of my supplies. Another tripod so that I can give you Sunday from the sewing room, a rotary mat, and over here, I'm embarrassed to show you this. Up here is my serger. This is another little cabinet where I try and store things. But as you can see, I've stored nothing because it's all laying here. Fabric that needs to go to shop. Here's another project that I have to do with this cuddle, and bags that need to get to return to the shop. I'll open up the closet later because that'll make you want to cry. There is a project that needs to get finished for the project that I had on the table. This is my little wall for, you've probably seen these for weeks and weeks. These have to get put together. They're all done. I just have to get them put together for my Tulip Pink quilt. This is just another disaster area, but I have embroidery threads in here and I put rulers here and it's kind of a mess. And then back here on the back of my door, I have threads and stabilizers and whatnot in here. And that is where I hang my embroidery hoops. So, and then if you come back around, What I didn't show you is my husband had made me a really long shelf to go over my ironing board, and that is where I have more disaster. So my goal is here is to try and get organized, and I'm going to do step 1 right now. Okay, so I'm going to take just 10 minutes and find at least 10 things that I do not need in this room and get rid of them. Let me know when. Okay, so it's been 10 minutes. I gave myself 10 minutes, and it's amazing how much stuff you can find in just 10 minutes. So let's take a look at my pile here of things that I have. So right here, I have a 2.5-inch square. I have no idea what I'm going to do with this. This can leave my sewing room, as well as these little tiny scraps that don't mean, look at, really? That don't mean a hill of beans. So we will call these little pieces of fabric that really will have no use. They can leave my sewing room. Here's a bag from Barn Door Quilt Shop that I went to in November when we had our retreat. And I'll just start putting everything in here. I don't need this in my sewing room. So that can go. Here is, I cut out a piece of pattern. This is what's left. I don't need that in my sewing room. Here is another piece of pattern for a circle bag that I did a long time ago. Goodbye. Also, remember all those little tiny scraps? I don't need these in my sewing room anymore. But these are big enough that I could use as crumbs to feed in. So I'm going to keep those. I use little pieces of fabric to help feed fabric in first, so I don't have little knots on the back of things. We have Kleenex. I have another box of Kleenex over there. We don't really need these in my sewing room. Okay, so here's the strangest thing I found. This is a piece of batting and an SOS pad. I'm pretty sure I cleaned the sole plate of my iron with this, and it's really gross, and it no longer needs to be in my sewing room. Here is a plug that has a USB on the end. I don't need this in my sewing room either. This can go in my cord bag that I take on the airplane or when I travel. A timer. I don't know why. We have a timer in my sewing room. It doesn't need to be here. How many things have we gone through now? At least, what, 6 or 7? Okay, so this is a microphone holder for a microphone that I don't have anymore. So I am actually going to give this to my son because I believe he can use this, but it can leave my sewing room. From the bank, it's to get change. We don't need that in my sewing room. A really old, ugly comb that can go. This is a lanyard for, I think I used it for face masks. Bye-bye. These are bells for a pillow I did that are back in the shop, so this can go. Another scrap piece of fabric. And my Kindle. I'm pretty sure I am not reading while I am sewing. And then the most dangerous thing of all that I found, where did it go? I used rotary blade. That's super dangerous. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap it in the paper towel that does not need to be in my sewing room and discard this, or find a Sharps container to put that in. Toothpicks, don't need those. We have earbuds from an airplane trip that I believe I took over a year ago. We don't need those in my sewing room. So, and then also here is a little notepad that I don't know why, but it looks like I put a glass on it and now it is sopping wet, and we don't need that in my sewing room either. So, and a receipt. So in 10 minutes, I found all of this stuff that I don't need in my sewing room. So my challenge to you is to take 10 minutes and find whatever it is that you don't need in your sewing room. Just 10 minutes. And now I have decluttered at least a little bit. So next week, I'm going to try and do something about organizing the rest of the stuff or the projects that I have laying around. I'm going to brainstorm and marinate on it, and I'm going to come up with a solution. This is Judy from Fox Cities Quilt Company, Sunday from the Sewing Room. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.